How can we recognize levels of maturity in INFJs? The question about maturity is a difficult one because obviously there's lots of ways of approaching what is essentially a qualitative question. It's not a quantitative question. So will we talk about the ability to take on responsibility? Will we talk about the level of wisdom, which is itself leads to a whole rabbit hole of what does wisdom mean and everything? Do we take a more pragmatic approach? What is maturity really? I was talking to one of my Patreon supporters, and he rightly pointed out that this question is more complex than it seems. The way that I would approach determining the maturity of a person, and in this particular case of an INFJ, is by really putting the focus on the ego ideal. So again, as a reminder, the ego ideal is that agency within the self, which is folded into the superego most of the time, according to most psychoanalytic theories, including Jung's theories, which is a personification of who you would like to be. All right? And when an INFJ is highly neurotic, okay, just like when anyone is highly neurotic, in a way it follows by definition that this person is not mature. It does not mean that someone who is essentially born and raised, molded into someone who's not neurotic, is necessarily mature. Maturity is not something that you're just given as if by a birthright. So it's not a bi-directional relationship. Just because you're not neurotic does not mean you're mature. But if you're highly neurotic, there is a sense in which at the emotional level you're not mature. Because neurosis, including neurosis for the INFJ, is a way for the INFJ to be stuck emotionally at an earlier stage of life and to regress to that earlier stage when faced with a particularly anxiety-inducing situation. And the reason why I would consider the ego ideal in this particular case is because I think a lot of mental health challenges surrounding INFJ life have to do with the ego ideal of INFJs, which is usually quite strong and quite unrealistic in the case of many neurotically inclined INFJs. The ego ideal is not something that we are conscious of, and at least not in its various ramifications, including the ramifications that we are interested in here. Often, a conscious manifestation of politeness, of humility, and of a certain demure surface in interactions conceals the opposite unconsciously. Right? There's reaction formation involved here, and there is this overblown ego ideal that we keep returning to. The unconscious INFJ is not modest, tends to overvalue himself or herself, and that is the cause of a lot of conflict. And maturity, I think, can only be achieved by, in the first place, letting that ego ideal relax into something more realistic. But I'll say more about this in the next video, guys, okay? If you enjoy this little appetizer, give me a like. Don't forget, I've written 2 books on the INFJ, The Ecstatic Soul, which is my first book on the INFJ mind. To this day, the most in-depth investigation of INFJ consciousness. It's available at the link below in the description box, and so is my latest one, The Infinite Soul, on INFJ Life in the Modern World. The first link below if you're interested. Check the reviews, check everything, and don't forget that I am very much dependent on your kind support. Please consider supporting me on Patreon, guys. You know that you get access to our Discord server and bonus video every 2-3 weeks on a topic of your choice. See you soon. Bye-bye.